Have you ever wondered why modern cities seem like they're literally designed to make us lonely? I know, it's a heavy question, but it's one we absolutely have to ask right now. Because, well, half of all adults in North America are reporting feeling deeply isolated in today's urban environments. We are surrounded by millions of people every single day, yet somehow we've never felt more alone.
And look, this isn't just a fleeting bad day kind of feeling. It's a full-blown public health crisis. Get this, the U.S. Surgeon General recently issued a shocking warning that this epidemic of loneliness is as deadly to our physical health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Think about that for a second. Our lack of social connection is literally physically making us sick.
So, welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to dive into this profound emotional crisis of loneliness, and we're actually going to connect it directly to the middle-class economic crunch that so many of us are feeling right now. But we aren't just going to sit here and outline the problems. We're going to explore a 1,400-year-old framework, specifically structural, Islamic, economic, and spatial principles. It offers this fascinating alternative solution to how we build our communities and manage our wealth. Okay, let's just dive right into it.
Section 1. Rebuilding the third space and combating the loneliness epidemic.
Okay, so a crucial piece of this puzzle is the concept of the third space. You've got your home, that's space 1. Your workplace, that's space 2, the third space. Those are the vital social environments outside of those two. But here's the problem. We've completely lost the physical places where neighbors can just exist together without having to spend money. Nowadays, try finding a place to just sit and read for an hour without feeling obligated to buy like an $8 latte. You really can't. The root cause of our modern isolation is directly linked to the collapse and hyper-commercialization of these once free, cozy gathering spots.
Look at the stark difference here. On one side, you have the coldness of desolate, highly commercialized modern city streets where literally every interaction is a transaction. But on the other side, classical Islamic urban design offers a historical solution that radiates warmth. The mosque, or masjid. In this tradition, the mosque isn't merely a house of worship, it functions as a free, open third space. It basically operates on neutral ground as a massive, warm living room for the neighborhood. It's a place where neighbors, regardless of their background, can gather, share food, organize mutual aid, and resolve disputes. It's a spatial design specifically built to counter that isolation we just talked about.
Section 2. The problem of hoarded wealth, or when capital sleeps. So let's pivot for a second to the economic equivalent of that isolation. Our modern economic reality paints a pretty stark picture. Right now, trillions of dollars are just sitting completely dormant in speculative vaults. Meanwhile, a third of the middle class is struggling to afford basic necessities, completely pinched by inflation and soaring costs. We're living in an economic system that actively prioritizes the accumulation of wealth over the circulation of wealth within the community. And honestly, it's incredibly frustrating to see vast fortunes lying completely idle while everyday people are just fighting to get by.
This brings us to a fascinating concept in Islamic economics known as al-khans, which translates to hoarding. It's the excessive accumulation of dormant wealth. Think of vacant real estate bought just for speculation, or physical gold locked away in a safe, completely without any productive investment or redistribution. In this framework, wealth is meant to serve the community. Letting it stagnate in a vault isn't just seen as inefficient, it is considered a profound social injustice because it literally starves the broader economy of vital resources.
Section 3. Zakat, the 2.5% solution, which is essentially a tax on stagnation.
Now, what's really interesting here is how tiny that 2.5% sliver actually is. Zakat is so often misunderstood as just, temporary charity for the holidays. But structurally, it is a mandatory, systemic intervention. It imposes an annual 2.5% levy, specifically on dormant, idle wealth that exceeds a certain threshold. Notice it does not tax your daily income or your labor. It targets stagnation. If your capital is just sitting there doing nothing, it is gradually reduced. This creates a really powerful incentive to move money out of vaults and back into the real economy.
And hey, this isn't just some ancient religious concept. The underlying economic mechanics have serious mainstream validation. John Maynard Keynes, who is pretty much considered the father of modern macroeconomics, famously praised the idea of a melting currency to discourage hoarding. He actually called it an irreproachable idea. The logic is universal. An economy thrives on velocity and flow, and it suffocates when capital is locked away. Zakat effectively acts as that melting mechanism for stagnant wealth.
So how does this actually work in practice? Let's break it down. Notice the bottom row here. Your primary residence? 0%. No zakat applied. The system protects what you actually use to live, but strictly penalizes the hoarding of excess capital. Got cash in the bank or physical gold that's just been sitting idle for over a year? A 2.5% rate applies. Look at speculative real estate. If you own a property and leave it vacant just to watch its market value rise, Zakat applies to its full value. That highly incentivizes you to either rent it out or sell it to someone who actually needs housing.
When you put these two paradigms side by side, it reveals a fundamental structural difference. Modern capitalism, by its very nature, tends to reward dormant accumulation. The more you hoard, the more interest or speculative value you can often accumulate, regardless of whether it actually benefits society. Islamic economics, however, actively penalizes stagnation. By forcing that 2.5% levy on idle assets, it mandates wealth circulation. It demands that money creates jobs, funds businesses, and supports the vulnerable, rather than just passively enriching a bank account.
Section 4. Waqf. Sustainable economic justice, creating infrastructure without debt.
So Waqf is defined as a perpetual endowment. Think of it this way. If Zakat is the flowing river of immediate economic redistribution, Waqf is the permanent infrastructure. It is designed to provide sustainable, long-term funding for massive public services, things like building universities, hospitals, and community centers. The absolute beauty of this instrument is that it moves way beyond immediate temporary aid. It creates permanent infrastructure that benefits marginalized communities for generations. And here's the kicker. It does so completely without relying on crippling debt.
And crucially, this isn't just ancient history. We can see in contemporary research regarding the integration of Islamic philanthropy into modern financial architecture that these concepts are highly active today. For instance, the Indonesian Waqf Board has pioneered instruments like Cash Waqf Link Sukuk, or CWLS. They are actively blending the ethical stability of Waqf with modern contemporary finance to fund social projects on a massive, government-backed scale.
Let's see how this builds into something called stock Waqf, because the mechanics are incredibly elegant. Step 1. Shares or assets are permanently dedicated to the endowment by investors. Step 2. The underlying capital itself remains unsold and completely untouched. It forms this permanent bedrock of value. Step 3. The dividends and profits generated from those shares are continuously skimmed off the top to fund social programs, poverty alleviation, and education. It allows a community to collectively fund its own social safety nets through sustainable, ethical investment, entirely bypassing the need for exploitative interest.
Section 5. Economics for the soul, healing economic anxiety.
Now let's connect the dots here. Because the research is crystal clear, there is a direct line between economic security and mental health. This system acts as a form of moral therapy. For the receiver, it restores dignity without humiliation, because getting this support is considered a fundamental right, not a handout. It directly reduces economic anxiety and that crushing fear of scarcity. For the community, it fosters profound social solidarity and trust. And for the giver, it achieves what is called tazkiyah, a cleansing of the soul from greed, envy, and the endless desire to hoard. It directly fights the loneliness and alienation we started this whole journey with.
It all boils down to this major mindset shift. In this framework, wealth is viewed as amana, a sacred trust. It is meant to be a flowing river designed to nourish society, not a stagnant pool meant to be hoarded by a select few. When an economy actually prioritizes sharing, collective well-being, and circulation, it organically replaces isolation and anxiety with purpose, connection, and community.
So I'm going to leave you with this final thought to reflect on. What if our modern economy was actually designed to enrich our communities, instead of just padding our bank accounts? By looking at these 1,400-year-old principles, we can see a genuine blueprint that challenges the status quo. It's a blueprint that could radically transform our modern, isolated world into a place of true connection and shared prosperity. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep asking the big questions.